Literature is not just another art form, it is the core of all arts. Music, cinema, painting, and even digital storytelling find their roots in the written word. The rhythm of poetry echoes in songs, the architecture of stories builds films. But to understand the decline, and possible rebirth, of literature, we must trace its long and luminous journey. The story of literature begins not with ink, but with images. Cave paintings and symbolic carvings were humanity's first attempts to narrate. Then came myths and oral tales, passed through generations as songs, chants, and performances. The Epic of Gilgamesh, perhaps the earliest written story, was not just a tale, it was humanity writing itself into eternity. Across the world, ancient civilizations developed their own literary systems. In India, texts like the Natyasastra fused art, performance, philosophy, and aesthetics into one integrated vision. Similarly, in China, works such as the Book of Songs, Shi Jing, and later literary treatises like Wengsan Diaolong, The Literary Mind and the Carving of Dragons, explored how rhythm, emotion, and structure come together to form literary beauty. In these early traditions, art, music, performance, and literature were not separate disciplines, they were one cosmic fabric of expression. The Greeks gave structure to that fabric. Writers like Homer, Sophocles, Euripides, Plato, and Aristotle transformed oral tradition into written art. They separated poetry from prose, philosophy from story, and gave us the frameworks of drama, dialogue, and narrative that still define storytelling today. For the first time, literature became both art and thought, a space where aesthetics met intellect. The Renaissance did not just rediscover art, it reinvented language. The birth of vernacular writing gave rise to accessible storytelling. Latin began to give way to emerging tongues like English, Italian, and French. William Shakespeare became the symbol of this linguistic revolution. His works transformed English from a regional dialect into a universal instrument of emotion and thought. But even then, language remained rich, ornate, and deeply layered. As centuries passed, writers sought simplicity. The rise of the novel in the 18th and 19th centuries, think Charles Dickens, Mark Twain, Jane Austen, marked a shift toward clarity and realism. Language became a mirror of common life rather than a symbol of elite artistry. Yet, beneath this simplicity, something profound happened. Writers began expressing complex ideas in fewer words. As printing technology and publishing houses expanded, literature became both a cultural force and a commercial product. Editors and publishers became gatekeepers of taste. The novel reigned supreme, but it also grew formulaic. Readers, meanwhile, began to live faster lives. The Industrial Revolution didn't just change factories, it changed attention. The long, ornate novel of ideas began to compete with newspapers, serialized fiction, and later, cinema. Then came television, then came internet, then came social media. The visual replaced the verbal. The moving image replaced the printed page. And the age of instant dopamine began. Why spend hours reading a novel when you can watch one in 2 hours or scroll through a dozen in seconds? Reading, once a sacred act of reflection, became a chore for many. Writers still reached audiences, but now as ghostly figures behind screenplays, adaptations, or social media posts. In this transition, something essential was lost: the literary experience itself, the act of engaging imagination through words. Yet, paradoxically, the same digital age that nearly killed literature may also save it. Flash literature, stories, essays, or poems told in a few hundred words or less, has become the unexpected savior of written art. From 6-word stories, for sale, baby shoes, never worn, to microfiction, flash poetry, and literary threads on platforms like Instagram, X, and Reddit, the essence of storytelling has found a new form. This is not just a reaction to short attention spans, it's an evolution of expression. Flash literature is to the 21st century what haiku was to Japan, a distillation of emotion, intellect, and symbolism into its purest form. One, it speaks the language of the times. In a world of scrolling and swiping, brevity is not a flaw, it's fluency. 2. It reclaims depth in an age of distraction. Flash writing forces precision. Every word must carry weight. Every image must resonate. 3. It democratizes creation. Anyone with insight and a phone can publish. The gatekeepers are gone, the readers are everywhere. 4. It revives the spirit of ancient art. Like the mythic chants and visual poems of old, flash literature combines immediacy with eternity. The literary establishment still dismisses flash writing as social media literature, but history has always resisted innovation before embracing it. The same criticism was once thrown at novels, at free verse, at postmodernism. Flash literature is not a threat to the novel, it's a response to our era's rhythm. It proves that the literary soul can survive even in fragments. If the written word is to endure, it must adapt without losing its power to move, to question, to awaken. The page may be shrinking, but the story isn't. In a world of noise, the future of literature is not in more words, but in truer ones. If your mind enjoyed this, engage with Braingasm pages, like, share, comment and subscribe.